Hello! So this evening we are going to take a look at the FlySimWare Learjet 35A in Flight Simulator 2024. The reason for this is yesterday, if you were watching or looking at my YouTube channel, you will have seen I took a look at the brand new Xtreme Prototypes Learjet 35 in Flight Sim 2024. And the community reached out to me over the last 24 hours and said it'd be really interesting to see the FlySimWare Learjet 35A in 2024 alongside it, because obviously this one came out about 8-9 months ago now. So that's why we're here. So we're going to go and do exactly the same kind of session with it. So we are at Sanger in Illinois, and we'll go and do a couple of circuits of the airfield and come back in again just to see how it compares, really. So first things first, I am going to run through a checklist, and I've forgotten to put a link to this in the video. I will fix that for you later. But if we go into, that's rather interesting, it seems to have forgotten who I am in Google, which is fun because I was just here moments ago. I keep having this happen recently. I have no idea why it keeps doing this to me, and it's now going to let me in, hopefully. Using a passkey, yes, and we're in. So if I go and search within Google Drive for Learjet, and you'll see the FlySimWare start procedure. So this is the procedure I'm about to go through with you. And if we go down through it, here we go, here's the pre-flight. So it goes through everything, and if you've ever seen my procedures before, you'll know all about this. So it goes through all of the places to look around the cockpit, what to do, what to click, where it appears on the screen, and so on and so forth. So obviously as you get better and better at it, you can drop away this procedure, or you can embellish it with even more tests. Because obviously the more high fidelity aircraft with lots and lots of systems simulated, you can extend this out further to do all of the tests of the systems, as well as the purely functional things you must do. Okay, so I'm going to be working through that with you. I've got it on a second screen alongside us. Let's go and press Shift and C to go... No, not Shift and C, sorry, backspace to go inside the cockpit. I won't turn head tracking on just yet, and we'll have a quick look around. So, what about the aeroplane itself? You can see the cockpit isn't quite as high fidelity as the Learjet 25. So this is the 35A. So the simulation of the panels isn't quite as nice. You can remove the yoke out of the way, and you can see the switch gear and things. They don't look quite as nice. But it's not the end of the world. If we go and have a look behind us in the cockpit, and we open the door, see there's no sound on the door. We're just turning ourselves around. It's not quite as nice inside. It's a slightly different layout of this version of the aircraft as well than the other one. Let's see what the animations are like on the door. So we have to press several buttons, do we? I can never remember any of this. To open, lift lever. There's the lights. So various bits and pieces do work. I wonder if that's a bug with it not working. And let's try this again. Okay, maybe we won't be playing with the door then. But having said that, I've just managed to unlock the door. Yeah, so you would need to look in the book for this. So I've gone, oh, there we go. You just have to hit the click spots in the right order. And because it's 2024, okay, so they have actually implemented that. So when you go into the aircraft, it's going to go and throw you out of the door, which is super not handy. I'm not sure if I agree with aircraft doing that to us. We have to click in the right places, though, I would imagine, to get the door to close again. And again, it's not obvious. And the door I'm just looking for the mouse to change. It's not having it, is it? Thankfully, there's a way to do this from the tablet. So you don't have to mess around playing around with click spots. If you open the tablet up and we go and move our view slightly and sit here, we can close the cabin door, we can close the cockpit door. Okay, so it can all be remotely controlled. So part of me fumbling around with the door was to illustrate that this is a lot easier. Anyway, let's go, and first things first, in the tablet, this is part of our general startup. We're going to go and put the GPU on, and then we're going to put the tablet away. So if we have a look outside of the airplane, we've now got the ground power unit plugged in with an umbilical to the underneath of the aircraft. All looks very nice, and it hasn't closed the door. So that's obviously some sort of bug, isn't it? So let's try that again. So it's saying the cockpit door and the cabin door are closed, and they are not. Now I don't really want to go flying around with that in that position, so let's see if we can fix it, otherwise we'll restart the flights. Can we get it to behave itself? It's not having it, is it? So have I unintentionally run straight into a bug with the aeroplane? There are no click spots along the edges of this. I wonder if we had to close that first. Yes, we did. So there's obviously just a hard-coded procedure around that, but then we don't appear to be able to push that lever back down now. It's bizarre, isn't it? I wonder if it will adversely affect our flight if we leave that handle up. There doesn't appear to be an easy way of bringing it back down, because that's just going to open and close the door. But it's not going to lock that back up. It's bizarre, isn't it? And extremely unintuitive. So we managed to lock that back on. I wonder... Okay, we need to click that to lock it into place, and then we can lock it. Okay, we've lucked into sealing the cabin. Right, from here on, I've got it all fully documented. I have not documented that door. Maybe I should. It's going to take a whole page, isn't it? To give it all the right steps to do. Okay, let's go through starting the airplane up and compare and contrast it to the Learjet 35. So I'm going to do this mostly without the views, because I do know where to look. So batteries 1 and 2 come on. Inverters come on. Now I've got the volume up to max, so you should hear all the sounds in the aircraft nicely. So then we're going to go over to, now we're going to have to get rid of the yoke to see the switches. The nav lights are over here. And then we can obviously set the cabin pressurization. We're going to be at low altitude, so we don't need to. And then we got the Garmin GNS. So interestingly, that hasn't come up because I need to change the order of things. This has changed since the early versions of this aeroplane, because obviously we don't have... That's interesting, actually. This is lit up, but there's nothing on the screen yet, because we don't have the avionics on, or the radio master switch is not on. Okay, so that's radio altitude. You've got avionics master switch. If we turn the avionics master on, we should be good to go with this. But normally, if you didn't have the GPU, you wouldn't be switching this on until the engines are up and running. But we're going to do things slightly backwards. So I may well change the written procedure, because my written procedure was originally cribbed from the documentation that came with the aircraft, and I don't always agree with the things they do. let's put that on standby mode on the transponder as well. We're not actually going to put a route in, we're just getting it booted up. Yeah, it's interesting that even on the GPU you still need to have the avionics master on, obviously, which goes against the standard procedure for starting the airplane that was written, that came with it. Anyway, so I'll change it slightly in my written notes to make it make a bit more sense for everybody. Okay, so next we're going to go to the no smoking and seatbelt lights there down here, so we can lift that up to turn on the warning lights around the cockpit. At this point, if we're going to do pushback and engine start, we would be removing the GPU anyway, so we'll just be on battery for a few moments. So we go and put the yeah, look, that obviously doesn't work, but anyway. So we've removed the GPU from the aircraft. We're entirely on batteries now. Obviously, you need the GPU on if you're going to be spending time programming a flight plan, so you don't flatten the batteries while you're doing it. So before starting the engines, you're going to go and put the beacon light on. It's over there. And then the start switches it's very similar to the Learjet 35. So you've got LGen and RGen here, but downwards on them is start. So if we do the right engine first, it doesn't really matter which order you do it in. So you will see the turbine speed come up when it gets past 20%, or to 20%. You will see there are release switches on each side of the throttles. So you pull those, and then you see obviously the turbine temperature goes up and the fan speed goes up. The fuel flow is happening. Okay, so once the engine's up and running, you can flick the switch all the way up to generate instead. So then we can do the left engine. So start, same deal, you're watching that instrument, so watching it get up towards 20%, so 16, 17, 18, 19. Pull the lever to lift the throttle out of shut-off. Temperatures come up, fan speed's coming up, oil pressure's coming up, fuel flow is equaling the other engine already. So, and then flick it over to generate instead of start. So that's gone through the basic starting the engines up. After engines, obviously we've already got the avionics master switch on. So we've got, that was here. And then we're going to look at the radio altimeter and turn that one on, turn the autopilot master power switch on, put the emergency battery to standby. Stall warning lights, which are, I'm trying to remember, here they are. Some of the things are a bit kind of higgledy-piggledy around the cockpit. Okay, then on the co-pilot instrument side, we've got the cabin climate control settings, so you can go and choose, you know, what you want to do. So we'll leave it on auto, and we could put it in the middle. And then if we go down and look at the pedestal, so you see the jet pumps. It still has jet pump switches like the Learjet 25, but they're automatically on in this aircraft. Standby pumps are off. If you come down here, there's a little toggle switch called steer lock, and if you press it, you will see you've then got steer on. So that's your nose wheel steering system. Okay, so I'm just going to go into our controls in the simulator and make sure that we've got a correct profile. So we want just a 2-engine aircraft with normal axes. Save and back. And let's see what's happening on my throttles. So that's good. And I can reverse as well. Yep, that's good. So I've got my controller set up with holding a button on to cause reverse to happen. Okay, So the reason I came in here is we want to have a look at the pitch trim. Just going to see if it's going to move. So it's going up there slowly. If I press downwards on the trim, what's happening? Is it actually going to trim it? Have I got any notes about this? Hold nose up switch until the pitch trim gauge reads 5. Oh yeah, you have to hold it on for quite a long time then. Okay, so then back on the transponder, we'd already put that on standby, didn't we? We did it slightly out of sequence, but it doesn't matter. So altimeters, we can press comma to shortcut setting them to the local barometric pressure. The HSI, obviously if you're doing a proper flight plan, you could go and have a play with that and set it. So we know at Sanger, if we go and show you the airfield, we're going to be taking off runway 09, so we want to set it to about 94 degrees to equal the runway, just so we've got a heading reference while we're flying. Notice the heading bug is on the bottom left this time, usually it's on the bottom right. So we'll set this to 94 or thereabouts, just so we've got a visual reference of the runway. Okay, so we do have speed mode on this aircraft, and there is an indicator that you can put on the indicated airspeed meter for it, but we're not going to get into that. It's really for the autopilot speed mode, and it's not tracked by the autopilot. The autopilot engages it when at the moment you engage it, if that makes sense. That's how you set it. Anyway, we're not going to get into that too much. So taxi lights are down here, so we can go and put the left and right sides to taxi, and let's go out to the runway, shall we? So head tracking on. Looks the part, doesn't it? So just while we're sat here, let's go and engage the reversers. Just having a play to see how they behave. We've got a door warning. Let's have a look before we go any further. So it's still complaining about the door. Have we managed to open it? Have we reversed the logic on it? Nope. Okay, whatever that switch did has made it go away. I do wonder if the door is a little bit buggy. Or maybe I just wasn't following the procedure as I fumbled with the switches to try and get it to lock itself. Because it would appear that the door wouldn't close unless that switch was on. Okay, so you can see we've got one light left on, and that's for the pitot heat, so we're just going to go and hold short here for a moment and go and look at the final things we need to do, which is go and put the strobes on, the recognition lights on, go and turn the landing lights on. We'll have a look outside the aircraft in a moment to see what it looks like all lit up. And we're going to put the transponder on, even though we're not going to be using ATC today. Flaps are already at 8 degrees, and I'm just trying to remember where the flap gauge is. Okay, where have they hidden it? Fuel, pitch, rudder trim. Am I being completely blind today? There should be a small... It was down here on the Learjet 35. It's moved, hasn't it? Where have they hidden the thing? That's quite amusing, isn't it? Well, obviously we can... Oh, okay, it's just a physical... Oh, there it is. It's an old analog meter. So even though, yeah, the Learjet 25 had a dial, this has like a ribbon. Obviously, but you get a physical switch as well that you can look at, which is easy to see. So we want 8 degrees for takeoff. Okay. So from here on in... Oh, we haven't done the pitot heat. I did all of that and then forgot the pitot heat. So it's down here. Okay, so coming up to 100 knots, 120, rotate gently. Gear up. Whoa, look at it accelerate. And dial out all of that nose up trim already. That came off the runway like a greyhound and it accelerated like nobody's business. So let's stay below the cloud base just for the moment and turn about. It's quite dark compared to yesterday. We had nice clear skies yesterday, didn't we? There's the airfield. And there's our reciprocal coming up. So let's have a look at this from the side. When we come back round towards the runway, I'll show the undercarriage coming down from outside. So if anything, this looks a little bit cleaner from the outside and a little bit better modelled possibly than the Learjet 25. It's obviously got the 2020 pilot models because it is a 2020 aeroplane. It just happens to be compatible. Pretty good though, isn't it? So we're going to get the speed under control. We're edging up towards 250 knots, look, even at 50% power. So I'm just pulling the throttles back to idle. We don't get an audible warning as we did with the Learjet 25. So let's turn it back around. What about spoilers? Do we get spoilers? Let's have a look. Yes, we do. And how good are they? The Learjet 25, they're pretty awful. We do get a warning that they're out. Although it is dragging the speed off quite well, even going down at 1,000 feet a minute. So we've overshot the turn, but we're not going to worry. So get the gear down to stop the alarm. Let's get it straightened back up. So holding it at about 160 knots. We're just going to do a touch and go. And then we'll go and do exactly the same as we did with the Learjet 25 and go and do another circuit around, but we'll hopefully climb through that gap in the clouds that's appeared out of nowhere. Okay, so touch and go time. 160 knots just about. There's a bit of a crosswind coming in from the left side. It's not too bad. I think it was about 10 knots. Okay, let's go with more flaps. So we're now 20 degrees flaps. Sit up so we get a good look at the runway on the way in. You can see we're crabbing at quite a big angle actually. We didn't have this strong a crosswind yesterday, so let's side slip it into the runway direction and then just use bank to traverse left and right as we need to. Full flaps. Bit of a bounce. Okay, so maximum thrust climb out. You can see it's going up towards 250 knots remarkably quickly. So let's lift the nose. And that stopped us accelerating. So looking at about 20 degrees nose up is holding. And that's looking at somewhere over 8,000 feet a minute at maximum thrust climb out. That's mad, isn't it? So let's turn around. In the clouds, just using the instruments to turn. Very sleek, isn't it? I guess that's why it's famous though. So we're just gently descending as we turn as well. Make our way back down through the cloud. So we're back on the reciprocal now. Let's dip back down through the cloud. There's the runway. Get a bit clearer view of it in a moment. The wind is trying to slowly roll the aeroplane left. It's hitting the tailplane. It's the airfield again. So I think it's easier to fly than the Learjet 25 was, but you'd kind of expect that. The Learjet 35 is has moved on quite a way, hasn't it? So I'm looking in the live stream comments. I've not seen the news yet. I saw the rumour that it was being speculated that FlySim was going to the PlayStation 5, but I hadn't actually seen an official news story about it yet. That'd be interesting if it does happen. I guess that means... Our trailer was released 10 minutes ago. So I guess that means cross-compilers are either getting very, very good, or the internals of the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox are more similar than people would like to believe. Or certainly more similar than the fanboys would have you believe. Yeah, but maybe cross-compilers are just that good. The airfield. Should we just go and cycle the gear so far? You can see it there, look. It's quite nicely done, isn't it? Low speed handling is very good. Should we find out what happens? Let's go and put these sticks back on for the moment. I just want to see if it's got a stick shaker. So we're letting the speed bleed off. Down to 120 knots. 110. Let's lift the nose. Yeah, it's got stick shakers. But not until it got quite disastrous. Look, we're heading for the floor. We were sinking like crazy before it became a massive problem. Let's get back onto the glide slope. So again, crosswind, you can see we're crabbing enormously. So we'll pull the nose round with the rudder and just use the ailerons to traverse left and right, or to travel left and right, I should say. So gear is down, flaps are on full. So look at that wind, it's blustering, sometimes strong, sometimes not so strong, which is throwing us sideways a little bit. Try the reverses out as well. We're a bit slow for it, but yeah, we're a bit too slow to use them. That was interesting. So I think it's easier to fly than the Learjet 25. And it's warning me now, look, because I got weight on wheels. The trim isn't on takeoff trim, so you'd have to give it a ton of backstick trim to make the light go out. There it goes, look. So I don't have nose wheel steering on. And now I do. So let's get the landing lights back off. I'm just going to stop us on the brakes to do this and turn head tracking off because it's being a real pain. Landing lights, let's go back to taxi. And so that was broadly the same flight we did with the Learjet 35, just a couple of laps of Sanger to get a feel for it and to see the systems. So there's a couple of idiosyncrasies, shall we call it that, with the door, but the actual aeroplane itself and flying it is brilliant. And it does look the part, doesn't it? So, the people of the YouTube community, I haven't actually looked yet, but what's the hardware specs of the PS5 compared to the Xbox? Is it the same amount of RAM? What about processor and GPU speed and GPU RAM? Are they broadly similar? I always thought that the PS5 had the edge in processing power, but I may be wrong about that. Obviously it's splitting hairs, because the only people who care are the people who sit and play the let's watch the frame rate game rather than actually play any of the games. Wiggle our way through all of the aeroplanes and park ourselves. I think someone else has taken the spot that we were in earlier. We're about to clout him on the head with our wing. We just parked down the end, the other side of this. Is it a barren of some description? Actually, let's see if we can spin it around and get it facing the right way. Busy skidding the nose wheel across the slabs. Okay, parking brake on. So, to shut the engines down, I'm guessing we can just pull those switches to go back to shut off. If you can get to them. There we go. Very cool. So, stall warnings off. Taxi lights off. We're on battery power now, remember, so let's get rid of that yoke so we can see the switches. All the lights off. Radio altimeter off. Autopilot master switch off. Emergency lights off. Inverters off. Radio master switch off. Pitot heats off. And batteries off. And the whole thing goes dark. So yes, I need to make some slight modifications to the startup procedure in terms of bringing the guidance systems on while you're on GPU, or make a different version of it. So obviously you could do a non-GPU start where you wouldn't hang around programming things unless you had power from the engines. But yeah, if you've got the GPU though, you would sit on it to do the programming rather than burn fuel. But yeah, it's good fun. I really like the Learjets. I always have done. It's a part of it is nostalgia, of course, because of the early versions of Flight Simulator. So I grew up with Flight Simulator 2 on the Atari ST back in the late 80s, early 90s. So yeah, this is a trip down memory lane being in a Learjet. Obviously it was nothing like this, but it's still good fun. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. So that was the FlySimWare, a very, very quick look at the FlySimWare Learjet 35A, just to compare it really against the Learjet 25 that we looked at yesterday. So they are both FlightSim 2020 aircraft that are compatible with 2024. It remains to be seen if there will be a special edition of each, or an upgraded edition that uses all the new toys in 2024. Because obviously 2024 can do things like much better texturing, and it can do distortion of the tires under weight. You can see this isn't quite right. Excuse me. But yeah, otherwise though, it's great fun to fly. If you've not had a go in this Learjet, the FlightSimWare one, absolutely go and get a copy of it. It's very, very good fun. Right, I'm going to leave it there. Hopefully you enjoyed that, and I'll see you again soon. Take care. I'm going to go off and look at the PS5 now and see what's happening.